Welcome to this week's edition of Tahoe Talk. We have accomplished author in the house of Extra Innings, Bruce Spitzer. Thanks for taking time to join us.
Great to be here. Thank you, Pete.
Bruce, for some of our viewers that maybe aren't familiar with you, give us a little bit of background.
Well, I'm a Boston-based author. This is my first novel, Extra Innings, a novel all about Ted Williams. But I've been a business writer my entire life. I've been a public relations executive. I'm a magazine editor, and I write a business column. So this is my first foray into fiction, and I'm happy to say it's going very, very well. The book is selling well. It's available as an ebook. In fact, it's in the top 10 in Kindle sports fiction right now. But you can walk into any bookstore and ask for it as well.
Well, we're pretty lucky to have you here in Lake Tahoe. You know, in the book, it's a fictional story. Why did you choose a fictional story for this setting?
Well, when Ted Williams died almost exactly 10 years ago, in last July, his family had his remains cryonically preserved or frozen. And, you know, it was sort of controversial at the time, but, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was thinking about Ted Williams and his state of affairs, and I said to myself, you know, imagining him coming back to life one day would make a great novel, and that's how this all started. And so it's been great fun. He really has been a fountain of information and material to draw from, because he was such a colorful personality in his life. He was dichotomous in many ways. You know, he could be profound and profane and magnanimous and moody all in the same sentence. But he was extremely talented, you know, first ballot Hall of Famer. But he had this cranky side to his personality. He had difficult relationships, you know, and all those kind of things. But he did wonderful charity work at the same time. So he's a very complicated guy. So you couldn't ask for more to draw from if you were going to imagine him coming back to life one day, 80 years in the future. And that's what this book is all about. You know, Ted Williams has to decide, you know, flawed in his first life. In the second, he has to make a go of it and decide what's more important, the chance to win his first World Series or the chance to be a better man.
Right. You know, Tahoe's no stranger to controversial sports figures. Ty Cobb used to call Lake Tahoe home.
That's right.
You talk about Ted Williams in the book and some of the possibilities if, you know, since he was cryogenically preserved, if he did come back, what would his life look like, you know, say a few years from now?
Well, it's very interesting because I'm happy to say that readers are sending me emails, and kind of like fan email, and it's very gratifying to receive. And they get it, you know, and they're saying things like, well, you know, it made me think, if I had a chance to do it all over again, what would I do differently? And in Ted's case, he never won a World Series in his first trip around the bases, but he had these complicated relationships as well, and he has to work a little bit to fix those, or try to, in the second time around. And you know, he was also this guy that had you know, a tremendous career, but didn't accomplish everything he wanted to accomplish. And so if you can imagine a person coming back to life, he's the first person in humankind to come back to life in the future, 80 years from now, you'd have to ask the questions, you know, what would any of us do differently? Would you tend to repeat yourself? And what about the soul? What happens to the soul if he's brought back? Is there a God? The first person who comes back to life after death is going to know whether or not God exists in an afterlife. And he has to confront all of those questions.
Really appreciate you taking time to come in, and good luck with the book.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of Tahoe Talk. We'll see you next week.